Hello, Peter. Oh, wait, hang on. I haven't unmuted you yet. Hi.
Hi, did you see Brian Krebs, his release on IT vulnerability in Zoom?
No,
As apparently,
hold
uh,
on. Wait 1 second. We are recording. And I think we're live on Facebook.
excellent.
So you don't want to have a conversation about anything that's,
Yeah, it's just Krebs on security has found some vulnerabilities in the Zoom password tool, and
password.
it's all over the internet.
Mhm.
All righty, let's see here. I'm going to see if I can go to the Joe Lewis.
Yeah, I'm
I
doing
imagine
it.
that's going to be in the Joe Lewis group page, correct?
It is.
And it should tell me it's live. It doesn't. I wonder what it would be, Michael. So I'd like to share the live link.
Um, I don't see it. I wonder if it doesn't start till,
I don't know. Got a few more minutes. Do we have any guests arriving?
now let's mute each other and I'm gonna Okay, we are now live on Facebook as well as on Zoom, and we are standing by for the beginning of the 5 o'clock happy hour. Live on Facebook and Peter, you can't have your audio up on that.
I'm muting it. Okay. Michael, you can actually share the live on your personal Facebook page now, and it'll show up on your personal page.
I can do that as well, but I am posting it, so if I do that, I'll have to
Well, then you just have to turn it off.
Yeah.
Turn off your device.
As well as
Should we share a drink?
we're the only ones here on the Zoom.
And Jay tells me he's watching live and he only sees me. I think it's either me or you in the Facebook Live.
Whoever's speaking,
Yeah.
because we're co-hosts. I'll tell you what, you want to keep an eye on the Facebook for comments and respond while I.
Yeah, I mean, I've got it. It's open. I don't know if my Facebook is the same as. And when you took that off, it showed us both. When you took that off, it showed us both.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we started again.
I don't know.
Are you not seeing it live on Facebook now?
I am.
Okay.
Right now, what I see is the both of us. I don't see your screen. Well, now I have it back.
Seeing it live on Facebook
I am.
The delay is good. Yeah, you need
I'm
to
going to turn off the sound.
turn your audio.
The sound.
Yeah. All right. So Peter, let's just start talking about we have up on the screen here. This is the first wave. Actually, we've gotten a few more locations.
Yeah, before we start talking about that, I really think we need to pour a drink, don't you?
I do.
It's been a
I might have pre-poured and started sipping.
You know, over the last week, one of the things that I've heard the president talk about is he's worried that we're all going to drink too much. And of course, he's never had a single drink, so I can understand his perspective. And he might be right now that we have such a fine spirit like Joe Louis to be drinking.
Absolutely. And, it's been pretty remarkable in the past 2 weeks in the conversations we've had with people who are getting the chance to experience it. It's unfortunate that we can't be doing a lot of the events that we had planned, the Golden Gloves. And, think about it, though. This product was not going to be really in the market until next week. We were going to do next Tuesday was going to be the preview podcast with the Man Cave Happy Hour guys over at the Detroit Shipping Company. And we just did one last week. We'll do a next one next Tuesday with them.
Boy, I was really looking forward to being at the Detroit Shipping Company. It seems like such a cool place to be. Yeah. We were looking forward to meeting new people and having some real fun there.
Yeah, definitely.
Cheers.
Yes, cheers, Peter.
It is 5 o'clock someplace, isn't it?
It's here. It's 5 o'clock here.
Oh, good.
We're in the same time zone.
It's the hardest part about being in the bourbon business is having samples. I mean, if you're selling baseball caps, you can have a lot of baseball caps in your office, and they're not much of a problem. But when you've got cases of top shelf bourbon hanging around, boy, it can be difficult to stay the course till 5 o'clock.
Well, you might have cases around. I only had a total of 6 bottles, and 3 of them were you given away as samples. One of them is the star of the photo shoot, and the 2 others, this is what remains.
Yeah. Now, do you have all of the original series of bottles with the Joe Louis's Congressional Gold coin?
You know what? I do. And in fact, this is the one. Yeah, I have it right here. It's empty, but yeah, so this is the one that we posted about the other day, that if anybody sees this in the stores, it really was the first edition. And then
I don't think there were any more than 60 cases made with that particular piece.
Yeah. So if you find it, the new tag got changed partly because we wanted to strengthen the message and also be a little bit more, I guess not overt, but a little bit more promoting the cause. And it has the motivational poster image that we've distributed to all of the athletes at Golden Gloves. So it was different. So, and it is more fitting for the times we're in, keep fighting.
I think so too. But it is something to have inadvertently created a collector's item. It certainly wasn't on our mind when we did it.
No, and you know what? You don't necessarily get to fully appreciate until the bottle is empty. But it's that image of the crowd, the spectators behind Joe, that's through the bourbon. And this really was a pivotal moment, I think, for us in the evolution of this brand. Don't you think, Peter?
Yeah, I do. I think that, well, first, I mean, if we're going to talk about the brand itself, and I love the back label story, and we should tell that more deeply. But really, we have a creative director by the name of Raphael Buffini, who we spent a lot of time talking to Raphael about what the brand meant to us. And we spent a lot of time thinking about the time that Joe Louis lived in. And so we really think that Raphael captured all of those elements in the overall bottle design and the label design. And we wanted a label, of course, that also worked well on the shelf with other bourbons and would stand out but not be out of place. And so we think he did just a marvelous job there. And I think the bottle itself is quite lovely and that people would love it. I know it looks awfully good in my liquor collection, and I'm sure it'll look great in all your collections out there as well.
It's an honor.
But the back label is the inside of the back label is a great story. Really, what we wanted to do first and foremost was to try to capture Joe in the ring. And of course, when we got into the brand story, we were really conscious of the importance of Joe Louis in the American lexicon, and we were very concerned about making certain that the importance of his legacy was there. And so of course, during Joe's life, segregation in America was a real thing. It wasn't a picture on a page that you see in a book. And one of the challenges, candidly, were that all of his fights were really in segregated arenas for the most part. And we searched far and wide. In fact, one of the founders of the company literally spent, I would bet, 30 hours searching for a photo. And we finally found a photo of Joe with a crowd of guys, a crowd of American soldiers that showed an integrated audience. And that was really what we had been after. And we felt really fortunate we found it. And it really presents, I think, Joe in a place that he really dreamed would be the America that he'd leave behind.
Yeah. And, it really opened our eyes to things that, unless you have other people's views on it, sometimes you don't even pick up on it. You're not sensitive to it. And
It's true.
if anyone has gone to the Joe Louis Bourbon website, joelouisbourbon.com, go to the company page, and it really tells the story of the comeback of this brand. But that also was work of a diversity board that we assembled to really help us. And it really started with Samara Rivers, who, I don't know if anyone knows, if you're members of the Black Bourbon Society, you certainly know her. She was the one who made that observation when we had shared some of the early concept with her. And that really has led to something that I think has really become much more top of mind for us, and that it isn't just about an image, but it's about how a brand engages with their audience, and how the audience, in this day of social interaction and social engagement is key, how the audience can really influence the direction of a brand, or that the brands are listening. So it really became a wake-up call for all of us, I think, too. And having Joe Louis Jr., Joe Louis Barrow Jr., who is on the board, having Will Wright, who's someone who has been around journalism for 40 years and was the head of diversity at NBC, and a number of other people, including, and it's not a black and white issue totally. It's, we have a gentleman who's running for mayor of Baltimore, who's 78 years old. He's the Bernie Sanders of Baltimore, but he brings a different perspective to it. So it's really been kind of something that you talk about the things that weren't part of the original plan, but you have to have your eyes wide open and your ears wide open. And that was really kind of, for me personally, very a woke moment.
Yeah. And there have been a lot of those eye-opening moments in this story.
Mm-hmm.
There's the process of really learning about Joe Louis's life and what made him special, and why 70, 80, 100 years later, people are still talking about him. This fall, my wife and I went to Washington, D.C., and one of the things we wanted to do is we wanted to go to Arlington National Cemetery. And so when we were there, one of the first places we stopped was President Kennedy's grave. I don't know if you've ever been to the Eternal Flame, but really remarkable place to be, and to stand there and to know all of the history that keeps that flame burning, and what he gave to the country. And then to walk down and to see Robert, his grave there, and to see Joe Kennedy, and to see Ted Kennedy, and to walk around the corner to the tomb of the unknown soldier, and to watch that majestic ceremony, those brave young men that get on that difficult duty and honor the tomb of the unknowns 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, whether there's rain or sleet. And when you walk forward from the tomb of the unknown and you're looking out over the city, and you can see the Capitol and the Washington Monument in the distance, you look down just to your left, is Joe Louis's grave. And it gives you a sense for how great a man he was, that he should be buried among such giants from this country. And it's something that for me was unbelievably moving. And I'll never really forget the feeling I got standing there after having been so deep in trying to understand his life. It was really a magnificent moment for me.
Well, that's something that has been really eye-opening for me. Is look, when you first approached us for some advisory services and helping to bring this brand to market, I was like most other people, I knew he was who he was, but I really didn't know who he was, right? I knew the name. I knew the name was on arenas. I knew, he was a world heavyweight champion, but I knew some of the fights, but most people that are, 20, 30 years younger than I am don't even know. They think he's a baseball player, or they just know the name from something. They're not sure. Wait, isn't there an arena named that or something? Didn't they tear it down? Well, yes, but this is why. And the whole process of learning about that, and then having the opportunity to meet people who, his family, but people who knew him, who met him, and how important that was to him. And we talk about last week when we had the conversation here with Mike McAtee and Bobby Russo, two of the top honchos in amateur boxing, and they both shared that same story, with JoJo, which is kind of cool to have shared that. And that's, there's something more here. You've said it. This isn't about a celebrity brand. This is a lifestyle brand, and it's really an education opportunity. It's an inspiration opportunity. Yes, it's bourbon. Get over it. It's more than bourbon. That's good bourbon. I know.
Speaking of which,
well, I was drinking more than you. You were talking more.
Yeah. So to me, when I knows this, I mean, it's a young whiskey, so the ethanol's there maybe a little bit more than you'd find on a 4 or 6. You don't want to get too deep. You don't want to get too deep into this whiskey on the nose, I think. But when I'm light on it, definitely sweet. Definitely picking up, I think, the corn. And when I first taste it, I get a lot of spice up across the top of my palate. Kind of explodes across my tongue. That's where the corn really comes in. And then the weird thing about this bourbon, the different thing about this bourbon is it's got a very high barley count. If you look at the mash bill, unusual to have so much barley. Barley is supposed to be
20%. 20%.
Right. And so what I find on the back of the tongue as this bourbon goes down is it gets very, very smooth. It does have a nice peppery feel at the end. And to me, it stays with me. It stays with me, long enough that I don't feel like I need to rush to the glass for another quick drink to keep it in my mouth. And I really like that. I really like that mouth feel of it. And so to me, very approachable.
Yeah, and it's 90 proof. And we had tested it and tasted it at 85, 90, 95. I had previously tasted it at cask strength, 120, as well as in a few other different variations. But I think that we made the right call. I hope that everyone else agrees.
Yeah.
It's a very drinkable bourbon, but it's got layers.
Sure
it's got
is.
complexity, and you can read the tasting notes that are on the back here. So Joe Louis, champion of them all, is an authentic American small batch, handcrafted straight bourbon whiskey, deserving of the title. It is big and bold with herbal notes mixed with baking spices, cedar, and cocoa. The sweetness of a high corn mash spars with hot spices and wood tannins for a knockout finish.
Yeah, I like it. It really works for me. I'm looking forward to the weather warming up in Maine a little bit. We'll start to mix some drinks. We'll start to mix some drinks, and now that we're all hunkered down in this unbelievable disaster, this pandemic, this COVID-19 madness that's sweeping across the country. I mean, candidly, we've got more time for friends and family, at least this day, and we should make use of it.
Well, and that's right. And it is about not, everyone's sequestered in their homes, but, because of things like this, really, look, you're all home alone.
I am home alone.
You're home alone. You're in an empty hotel in Maine. And I'm in Atlanta in a not fully empty home, but, that's another
Lucky
story.
you, Michael.
Yeah, but it was after 2 weeks of
Is
quarantine.
that for another broadcast?
That's for another time, another
Yeah,
day.
another time, another broadcast, different kind of broadcast, maybe.
Different topic.
Okay,
Yeah,
there we go.
yeah.
Why not?
Why not? Exactly, exactly. So I think, what we should probably share with folks is that just a reminder that every Tuesday we're doing a simulcast at least for the next month, at least as long as the shut-in happens. And that program really is about Detroit, and it's going to have every week there'll be several bartenders or local mixology related or bourbonista related folks on there, and we're going to be tipping bartenders who participate. Not, we're going to tip the guests, but we're also going to tip others who just participate. And that's cool. Jamie and Matt from Man Cave Happy Hour podcast. You, Peter, had original contact with them because we were looking at a way to do something to preview what was to be the comeback events, which were the Michigan Golden Glove State Championships in Grand Rapids and the Metro Detroit uh, Golden Gloves tournament in Detroit. Both were going to be next weekend. Was it next weekend? No, wait, 2 weekends from now.
Well, that's right. And next week we're going to have the opportunity to hear from the author of the book, the 1935 Detroit City of Champions. When you're from New England, you're used to winning in sports, winning, winning, winning. Michael being at Atlanta, he really should understand that.
Well,
And
but I'm from Boston, so
yeah,
yes.
that's right. You are from Boston, but boy, we've had a great run. But in 1935, it was Detroit, and Detroit had Joe Louis, number one. And keep in mind, at the time, the heavyweight champion of the world was considered the world's greatest athlete. He was an up and comer, very promising, and he became a champion that year. All of the professional sports teams won that year, and there's been a lot of books written on that. And so we have the author of one of those books in next Tuesday's Man Cave Happy Hour, and he's going to talk a little bit about that year, what it meant to Detroit, and how the energy from that year carried on for decades, and what an important role Joe Louis had in that period. Also, in the next few weeks, Michael Mayer, who is a Detroit native who lives in Portland, Maine, and he has started a company called Man and Oak. He is the local bourbon aficionado in Portland, Maine.
And he hosted our tasting when we were, or moderated it, I should say.
He sure did, and he's going to spend some time with us. And then Raphael Buffini, our creative director, is going to spend some time online. He's going to talk a little bit about what was in his heart as he brought the graphics up out of the ground and took all of the things that we've been talking about and turned them really into an enduring brand that we could work with into the years to come. So
yeah,
some good guests coming right up.
Yeah, and we're going to keep it going and keep it flowing. And one of the things that's going to start to be a little bit of an exciting moment here is that we have, and there's posts on this on social. And if you go to the Joe Louis bourbon.com page and you click the buy button or go to the locations page, we're announcing that we have this "Where's Joe? Here's Joe" campaign. And yeah, and so as people, first and foremost, people calling or walking in, if they're walking in, but calling their favorite liquor stores and asking, "Where's Joe? When are you going to have it?" Because what happens is that these stores need to hear that there's demand for it. It's a new product. They're all busier than they've ever been, which also means that they don't really have, and none of the salespeople are coming in because of the shutdown to pitch them on the new product. So the only way they're going to know is that people start asking about it. And then when we're going to be able to be updating our locations on the website and promoting where the locations are, and so that you'll know where to go get it. And then if you find it and take a selfie of you with your bottle of Joe and you post it on Instagram or Facebook with the hashtag "Here's Joe," we're gonna track you down. No, we're going to. There's a form that you'll get a message. You'll get a direct message or a private message with a link to the form to just give us your shipping information. And if you can, if you have some other pictures you want to upload them, you'll be able to upload them there, as well as share us your Instagram and Facebook handles. And then we're going to send you some swag. What are we sending, Peter? Do we know?
Well, We haven't really decided, Michael, but we've got some different things. Probably the B. Joe Louis bracelets, the
Yep.
wristband. That's probably what's coming out. But we do have some other things that are on our mind, and we're working on that. One of the things that the audience could do for us that would be really great is to understand that launching a national brand in the middle of the worst worldwide global pandemic that's ever come up is really an amazing challenge. We call on everybody for their help, and to say that Joe Louis was the people's fighter. I mean, he really was the people's champion. And I wouldn't go so far as to say that our bourbon is going to be the people's bourbon. However, I would say that we could use your help right now. And if you could all just put a little bit of pressure on your local liquor store. Michael talked about the Where's Joe, Here's Joe campaign, but it really is something you can do in this crazy time that would give us some help. We need it. We had a lot of marketing plans in the marketplace to promote the brand at state championships and the Golden Gloves. And part of the reason for it all is that the sales from this brand really do benefit kids, and they benefit the kids through USA Boxing and through the Golden Gloves. And this is a year where the Olympics has been delayed an entire year. And many of these kids have trained their entire lives for the opportunity to be on the Olympic team. And suddenly, those plans for them have changed. What a devastating thing to have happen. But it's going to take money to get these programs up and running again and to keep these coaches and these kids involved. And we do donate significant resources from our sales to those projects. And your support will go a long way to helping those programs as well. And so if you're doing some good, and at the same time helping us out, we sure could use it.
Yeah, and it's $1 for every bottle.
Yeah, a lot of money.
Directly to USA Boxing, and then there's additional funds that are injected into the the Golden Gloves champion franchise teams around the country as we roll it out in their market. Paid
That's right.
sponsorship fees, and that helps as well. And the Joe Louis family, the Joe Louis Foundation, that's being resurrected, I guess. Is a beneficiary. So there's a lot of good that comes of it. And that's also why we're very sensitive to the fact that we are talking about an audience that could potentially be largely minors. When you're talking about youth athletes, not all, their majority are probably, anywhere between 18 and 28. So some of them are and some of them aren't. But so we've created B. Joe Louis as a campaign and a separate website, bjoelouis.com, which is really just dedicated purely to helping to educate and inspire athletes through knowledge about Joe Louis and what he stood for and what he did, and some of the amazing accomplishments. And that's a work in progress, but it's also part of this effort because we talked about the posters. The athletes at these Golden Gloves tournaments are receiving, in all the boxing gyms have posters that have motivational sayings with Joe Louis and the USA logo, and it really doesn't promote the product. And you might say, well, that's crazy. You're selling bourbon, but we really believe that a major part of this is reintroducing, and we call it the comeback, right? The comeback of the champion of all time, because there's a whole generation of people who did not know who he was, who weren't alive during that time. And the messages, what he stood for in terms of how he persevered in face of adversity and segregation, and he was accepted equally, poverty, and he was accepted equally as a true American hero at a time when this country really needed it. It was pre-World War II. It was the rise of Nazism, and then during World War II, when he was recruited he actually enlisted, but he did boxing matches, exhibition boxing matches. That's the picture that's in the back of the bottle for our troops at a time when they really needed morale building.
He got the Legion of Merit Award for that. He was awarded that medal, military honor, for his contribution to troop morale. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt said that, and he said to Joe, he said, we need strong arms like yours to beat the Nazis.
Muscles. He said
muscles, right.
muscles.
And Joe was working. When he was working, he was moving blocks of ice. He was delivering blocks of ice to ice chests. It's kind of hard to believe that that's what he was doing for work. I mean, who can imagine having to have a big block of ice brought into your house every day to keep your milk cold? That's why they called it an ice chest.
But it was working. It was a good workout too.
With a big set of ice picks, and he was able to pick those blocks of ice up. His arms must have been like steel rods. So it was he had a right cross or the right overhand those were his best punches in my opinion. And he really was known as a sportsman, by the way. One of the things you'll see it in the ring when the winning fighter many times hovers over the vanquished fighter, and Joe Louis was known never to do that. He went to the neutral corner constantly. He was a gentleman always, and he really brought the best of sportsmanship to the ring. And in this moment in time, with so much madness out there, if you had to step into the ring, you want to step into the ring with Joe Louis, and that's what we've done. And we hope you all will join us for a drink and help us win this fight.
What we don't want to do, you said stepping in the ring with Joe. We don't want to become members of the Bum of the Month Club.
The Bum of the Month Club is a bad place to be.
Yeah. And it's basically what it was. That was the name that was given to all the fighters that stepped into the ring, and boom, he just knocked him out. He KO'd him.
I forget the name of the fighter, but one fighter said, "Every time I think of Joe Louis, my nose bleeds."
Yeah, there's some great sayings. We've got a lot more of them to be utilizing as we keep telling the stories and keep sharing the tales. So,
Michael, we've been on this a half an hour now, and why don't we tell everybody that we'll be inviting them for another week.
Yep.
And I want to thank you all for your time today. We enjoy talking about Joe Louis and our bourbon, and hopefully we'll be here a couple of times. What are you going to do in this, Michael? Every Tuesday and Thursday night?
Well, we're doing every Tuesday. We're doing the co-hosted simulcast with Man Cave Happy Hour. And every Thursday, we're going to be just doing this and inviting some folks in and sharing it on Facebook. And, we encourage as more people experience Joe in Michigan, we would love to hear from more and more of you, and just be part of the conversation. We will have, we've had in the past couple of weeks, we've had Joe's youngest son on, and a number of the other members of the team. And, we're kind of rotating them because people do have lives and work to do. So yeah, the main thing is know that we're here, and we hope you're following Joe Louis Bourbon on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are actually launching a YouTube channel that will be up by the end of this week. We will also be simulcasting these on Facebook as well as YouTube starting next Tuesday, and as well as on Man Cave Happy Hour. So there's a lot of ways you can kind of join the convo.
Yeah, well, actually, and I was just going to say that, Michael, if there are people out there who have Joe Louis stories, please join us in the Zoom meeting. Let us know you're coming. We'd love to hear your stories. Join us. Tell us what Joe Louis meant to you. Talk to us about what you love about bourbon. We don't want to forget that this is boxing and bourbon. It is a thing. We can talk about today's boxing. We might even talk about a little bit about mixed martial arts.
And you can email champ@joelouisbourbon.com if you want to have a private chat and suggest an idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
with that, I'm going to say good night. Thank you all. Michael, till tomorrow.
Peter, yes, until tomorrow.
Cheers.
All right.
Bye-bye, everybody.
It's a good thing. It's delicious. It really is. It's a bad thing, I guess, if we're drinking too much of it.